Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk. Game week 1 is over. We've had some interesting fixtures with interesting moments that we really want to discuss. So make sure you get involved in the comment section and let them know your thoughts on the fixtures. We're going to kick it off with Friday's game, should I say, the first one, Manchester City versus Burnley, 3-0, and they win that game. But does that tell the whole story, do you think, Shreyas?
I don't think it does. I think once again, City are one of the best teams in Europe. This is a team who has just come off from the championship. In large portions of the game, Burnley didn't look poor. Like if you look at the scoreline, you would imagine that Burnley didn't play that well, but I think they played all right. They for the most part they were able to keep their own against City, but Haaland is just a cyborg. They just got too much quality in their department in comparison to Burnley. But I think over the course of the season, Burnley would be the team I wouldn't put in that relegation battle. Like I think they will be around the 13th, 14th mark, 12th mark, but they won't be relegated. I think they'll do all right this season.
I think there was 90% of people who captained Erling Haaland, including myself and many other people from the channel and people of viewers as well, because I've had a look at a lot of the teams. So Haaland was captain, he bagged 2, of course. Was hardly really involved in the game, but that's what he does, isn't it? He just bags goals. Rodri got a goal as well. There was a couple of people who had Rodri, and obviously they got a clean sheet there. So points all around the board for Manchester City. We move on to the Saturday fixtures. Arsenal versus Forest. Saka and Nketiah and Awoniyi on the score sheet. And again, Arsenal in cruise control first half, you would think, 2-0, but Forest got a late surge, didn't they, towards the end of that game?
Yeah, I think the fact that it was 2-0 and then they managed to score 1 goal. So, the moment you score a goal, it just, becomes a matter of 1 goal. And when it is in the closing stages of a game, sometimes the momentum just shifts altogether.
Do you shot or do you kind of, do you know what I mean? It's a bit...
the perfect example for it is our last games, last year's fixture against City at Old Trafford. They were just ahead by 1 goal and, we scored 1, momentum shifted, we scored another. So I think it was just a perfect display of that analogy, and I think overall Arsenal looked good. They were able to completely dictate terms in that match. Midfield look all right. Attack, once again, I think Bukayo Saka will have an even greater season as to what he had last season. So I think overall a very good time, a very good match to see, and I think a very good performance by Arsenal, like something they can genuinely build on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because a lot of our predictions seem to come to light with a lot of these games. The next on the list was Bournemouth versus West Ham, 1-1. Bowen scored. I think Dominic Solanke scored as well. Not the greatest start, but it's kind of the result we expected in it on that one.
Yeah, not a flashy game. Had to be a scrappy game. Some very, very, I would say, weird or awkward goals coming off of very, very different plays. So it had to be one of those fixtures. When you see Bournemouth, if you see that sort of fixture, you have to expect these sort of goals and these sort of things to actually happen in a fixture.
Whereas in comparison, Brighton versus Luton, 4-1. You had Solly March scoring, João Pedro, I can't say his name, Aranguiwa, I think it is, who's another player for him, and Evan Ferguson as well towards the end. Doesn't look good for Luton Town straight off the bat, does it?
You could just see a big quality difference, and not just a quality difference. They were just outclassed. Like if you have to take into regard the game City had with Burnley, you can't say that they got outclassed. It was just a matter of players being better, not the fact that they just got overplayed. That was never the situation in that game. With Luton Town, it was, and I don't think that they've done enough to actually strengthen themselves in this window. Like I think they should have they need a lot of reinforcements in a lot of departments, and the way it is looking, they might be one of the first teams to actually go down. Like, before Christmas, sometimes you can just make out that this team is going to go down for sure. I think Luton will be one of those teams this season. The kind of goals they conceded, like they serve goals on a platter at times, like their CDM, Apanzu or whatever the name of that guy is, flicked the ball up and it was just a complete volley. So you cannot have that amount of mistakes or that sort of mistakes in the Premier League. You're going to completely get murdered, and that's what happened. And all due respect to Burnley, Burnley once again played really well in their game against City. Luton weren't able to reciprocate on that. And Brighton looked really impressive, like genuinely, with the kind of players they lost. Caicedo is gone, McAllister is gone, and they still been, the performance they generated. Once again, might be able to get top 4. You never know.
I think Brighton in the past 2 games without Caicedo and McAllister in the team have scored, I think, like 9 goals.
9 goals, yeah.
So they've been unbelievable. Another 2 teams on Saturday's fixtures who could be fighting relegation is Everton and Sheffield. Everton lost 1-0 to Fulham. Cordova Reid, and obviously Fulham kept a clean sheet in that. So a couple of people had Leno in there. Sheffield versus Palace. Edouard scored for Palace. Again, not one of them games where it's like a little bit sticky. Clean sheet for Crystal Palace. So Sheffield and Everton, do you see them scrapping at the bottom? I know it's only it's literally game week 1, so you can't judge straight off the bat. But judging from the performances that you saw, you would think maybe Everton may be scrapping again. Sheffield for sure.
I think Everton will sure be. I still cannot evaluate Sheffield because Sheffield I evaluate as one of those teams that will manage to get a lot of points against these lower ranked teams. Teams like Luton, teams like, your Evertons, your Crystal Palaces. I do expect them to take points off them. So probably they'll survive, but I still think that they'll be in that relegation battle. Everton, I still don't know what's, something has genuinely and terribly gone wrong there. Because if you just look at their spending, they've been spending a lot. Their spending is comparable to the top 6. That's the amount of money they've been shelling out on players. And after doing that sort of business, you don't expect a team to be around 17th, or at the last match day you don't expect them to just come out of that 18th slot. So Sean Dyche as a manager, I don't think that any Everton fan should be expecting even a top half finish this season. If you get 13th, 14th, that is a big upgrade. But I don't think that they should be imagining above that, because there are a lot of cracks in those teams, and I really don't know from where they're going to get the goals or from where these defenders are going to stop off those goals. It's a very big panic.
They need a striker.
Yeah.
I think they need a striker desperately, man. And they brought a kid in, but he's like 19, 20, I think. It's a lot of pressure to come in and ask him to be, your goals. Like Calvert-Lewin, can't stay fit at all. So yeah, they'll be relying on that. And if I was Everton, I'd be looking at the market now. I'd want to bring in another striker, just anyone, to try getting them goals. 2 teams that didn't really lack goals was Newcastle and Aston Villa. We said that would be a barn burner. We had that feeling. Isaac on the score sheet twice, Tonali on his debut, Wilson and Barnes, Moussa Diaby on his debut as well. Anything surprise you about that game? Did you like it?
I expected it
thoughts
to go
on
in
Villa
that
as well,
direction.
conceding that minute.
Yeah, I expected that game to go in that direction, 6 goals or 7 goals happening. But I just thought that the distribution of those goals would be a bit even. Newcastle just ran away with it. I think they just ran away with it when they had the momentum. You see leagues in the Prem, sometimes they just, when they're ahead by 2 goals. For example, the game of Arsenal versus Forest. They were up ahead by 2 goals. They didn't kill off Nottingham. They allowed them to take that goal and just shift things. Newcastle, when they were on that momentum, they didn't stop. They scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They just kept going. Exactly.
They're dangerous, aren't they?
They are a very dangerous side at home. And once again, Isaac looked incredible. The way he took his goals, the way he was moving around the box, his pressing. He just, once again, a perfect striker for Newcastle. And he's done justice to that.
Him. Yeah. We mentioned Isaac before the game. You mentioned Diaby before the game.
He's done justice to the price tag, and I think even Moussa Diaby, what he performed in that first game, he did justice to his price tag as well. He looked rapid, clinical, caused a lot of trouble to Botman as well on that back post. So I think Diaby is a good signing. He looked like the better players on that pitch. But I think Harvey Barnes had a good debut. I think Isaac looked incredible. Botman looked good. Trippier looked good. Guimaraes, Tonali and Joe Linton look like a very good balanced midfield. So, right now things are actually flowing into their game when it comes to Newcastle. The only point is, will they be able to keep it up? Or, will probably things die down? But I still think that I don't see them getting top 4, but I still think that they'll be 5th or 6th. They won't drop below it.
I was going to say, for both teams being in European football, it'll be interesting to see how they manage that weight load then. Will the expectations still be the same when they're playing twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week? It'll be very interesting. Sunday, Brentford versus Spurs. I said Brentford would win this game. I thought Brentford at home, the way Spurs would go in, but it was relatively competitive. You had Mberno, Vissa, Emerson, Royale and Romero scoring for Spurs. So Harry Kane's gone. You've got Emerson Royale apparently and Romero who's going to fill that goal scoring void. What were your thoughts on Brentford versus Spurs? Do you think Spurs can climb into the top 4, or are you still slightly worried for them?
I'm still worried. I don't think that they can climb into top 4. I'll watch that game very closely. And Brentford, they just played well. The thing is, they didn't overplay them. They just, they were very smart when they came to playing them. The moment Romero went off, I don't know why, but Spurs were still playing that high line with Davinson Sanchez. And every single time they lost the ball, which they did every single time when they were progressing forward. Mbeumo and Visa, the pace that they had on the counter-attack, they were just not able to cope up with that. And I was surprised that, the certain chances that they were not able to take, that game could have easily ended 4-2 as well in Brentford's favour. And I think Kulusevski looked extremely poor in that game. Like he was, he went forward, he tried to cut inside, but then passed the ball backwards and allowed Brentford to, just come back into position. I think Kulusevski is a big worry sign for Tottenham right now, because if he doesn't play off well from that right hand side, they have nobody to fill in that position. I think Maddison looked good. Like whenever he was on the ball, he was only on the ball for like 5 to 10 seconds and he made a pass. I think Son as well, on the ball, he looked good. Off the ball, his runs and the way he operated around the box, that was a bit questionable. But except that, I think some of the better players for them on that pitch in that fixture.
Yeah, I think James Maddison's going to be a really important player for Spurs. I think it's going to be really good for him. It's weird though, because if Kane would have been there as well, whilst Maddison would have been there, like that potential link up with Son.
But I think Romero going off is going to be a big trouble, because you've got Mickey Van de Ven, as good as he is, he needs someone like a Romero alongside him. But Davinson Sanchez or Eric Dyer coming into team, it's open play for pacey wingers to play against them.
And then the most interesting fixture, in my opinion, was Chelsea versus Liverpool. I think that shocked quite a few people. You had Disasi scoring on his debut, former Manchester United target, of course, and Luis Diaz getting on there. But I thought, look, it was back and forth, wasn't it? But I thought there were a couple of offsides goals. I thought Chelsea were a better team in the second half. Yeah. I don't know what you thought.
I think the moment that second goal got disallowed, something just tilted in that game. I don't know what happened. Because suddenly after that goal got disallowed, Enzo Fernandez became a different creature in that midfield. Like it looked like as good as McAllister, Szoboszlai and these players are, they just weren't able to cope up with Enzo Fernandez. He was bullying everyone in that midfield. Yeah, unbelievable. If you have to see one of the best midfield performances of game week 1, Enzo Fernandez I think was by far one of the best midfielders on the pitch.
Right up there.
And except that, I think Sterling was wasteful, but better in comparison to how he was playing last season. Nicholas Jackson was doing the right things, just not able to convert. If he would have been able to convert, probably could have seen 3 goals from Chelsea's corner. But I think as the season grows, he'll be able to tune in with more goals, because he looks really, really dangerous. I think except that, on the flanks as well, I think Reece James going off is a big blow once again. I think he's a quality player, but just cannot stay fit. Chilwell looked good. Chilwell actually looked really, really good. I still have a problem. I still have a problem as to how I would rank him, like in comparison to other left backs in the league, because sometimes I think he's arguably a really, really good sub, and when he is poor, he can look like a complete degenerate on the pitch. So I still don't know how to rank him, but in that game he looked good. Disasi looked good. Robert Sanchez in his debut looked really good in net as well. Except that from Liverpool side, I think McAllister in the first 20 minutes looked really, really great. He was able to ping the pass through to Salah, who got the assist eventually for Luis Diaz's goal. But except that, he cannot do that job as a 6. He genuinely cannot do the job as a 6. That got extremely overexposed in that game. Szoboszlai didn't have that great of a game. Mo Salah looked destructive.
Defense aren't great either. I don't think even the back line,
they weren't.
Flaky.
Van Dijk and Konate didn't really look at it. Alisson, I think, made a little mistake as well, but overall, I think he had a good game. And
it's just their attack, Liverpool's attack, that's going to get them out of goal. Exactly. They're going to outscore, aren't they, effectively? That's the way it's going to go. That's the only way,
because they don't have a true CDM at the club right now. But I think Salah had a good game. Luis Diaz had a good game. Darwin Núñez, when he came on, looked dangerous. But except that, I think it was more of Chelsea after the first 25 minutes. And Enzo Fernandez just completely changed the tune of that game.
I think both teams are ones to watch. If Liverpool can bring in a competent number 6 at a high level, they could be dangerous. And I think equally Chelsea, without European football, the signings that they made, they still got Caicedo and Lavio to come into that team as well. Once that midfield's cooking, Enzo, Caicedo and Lavio.
Imagine Caicedo playing alongside Enzo Fernandez in that midfield.
Exactly.
You don't need anything else.
Him. And in the Premier League, you need midfield to control games. It's as simple as that. To win games, you need midfield to control. Enzo, Lavio, and Caicedo is unbelievable. Speaking about, this gives me a perfect segue. Speaking about midfield to control games, Man United versus Wolves. Don't need to touch on that too much. So we discussed it at length. But I think the talking points from that, one, United were very, very lucky to win that game. I think we both agree on that. 2, the midfield was very disjointed, and that needs to be sorted. And 3, Wolves were a bit of a surprise package, weren't they?
I think Matheus Cunha was a big player in that fixture for them. The way he was making runs, he was able to trouble Lisandro Martinez a lot. The fullbacks didn't look that great, except for Wan-Bissaka. I think Wan-Bissaka had a really good game, but Luke Shaw didn't look at it. Casemiro had just too much of workload and too much scanning to do, which eventually played into his game, and you couldn't see the best out of him. Mount and Bruno, there needs to be a balance between them. The moment they get that balance right, I think this midfield's, the work rate, as well as, the link between the defense and the attack, it just gets maximized, to a completely different level once they find that balance. Rashford didn't have the greatest of games. Antony didn't have the greatest of games. Garnacho didn't have the greatest of games. You can expect these sort of performances out of Garnacho, but not of Antony, because Garnacho is still a youngster. He's still, getting into his team. Hasn't been starting for us regularly in the league. He's been used as a super sub. Antony is someone who we expect, and the manager actually expects to play week in and week out as well. So Rashford and Antony were big letdowns. Bruno, I think, once again, eventually played the ball in for Wan-Bissaka, who played the ball to Varane and got the goal. But that's what you expect of Bruno. He can have a very, very, very terrible game, but still, it's just one pass that he can make at any moment. So overall, a very, very lucky win for United. Wolves, Matheus Nunes and Matheus Cunha, both of them, they just, were able to find that tune and eventually exploit the spaces that we left behind in that midfield. And we just didn't maintain our shape. So once again, Wolves can trouble some teams who are not that sound when it comes to preserving their shape. But except that, I think United, it has been a learning experience, and it's good that we played Wolves, because if it would have been another team, this fixture could have gone any other way.
Well, in comparison to last season, we lost the first 2, so that's 3 points gained. That's the way I'm going to look at it. And hopefully, you put that aside, you learn from it, and we start to play better in the next couple of games. Let's take a look at the top 4 of our FPL league then. At the very top, well, joint top, we've got Arsenal FC. Unfortunately, I don't like the name, but, you've got the point, so it is what it is. He had Isaac in his team, Haaland as captain, of course, and Bukayo Saka and Leno in net. So a lot of points rounding up there, 92. Very well done to Arsenal FC. You've got Mentalist Kharkiv fan, 92 points equally. He had Rodri in his side, Saka, Haaland, Isaac, João Pedro as well, of course, on his debut. In at number 3, or joint 3rd, 4th, whatever you want to call it, Basmati Rice, who I actually remember from last season, who was in our league. So I really recognise that name. Exact same kind of players. And then the Prima Donnas, who was joint 3rd, 90 points. Same as well, but had Varane in his team, who of course got a bit of I don't think a lot of people would have had Varane, to be honest with you.
I think none of the players or even the manager thought that Varane would be the one scoring the goal against Wolves.
No, exactly. So that's very, very tight at the top. 92 points, 2 people at the top, and then 90 points, joint 3rd and 4th. Just a reminder, whoever finishes top at the end of the FPL season wins a retro jersey. So make sure you keep competing. And send us your teams as well. Send screenshots into the Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and we'll post them on our socials. Just let us know how you've done. Then we talk about the lads from the channel, and this is where I'm going to get my moment, because I'm slightly happy about this. Well, I'm not slightly happy about this. I'm very happy about this. So look, there's a league that's obviously ongoing that's got like 300 people, the Real Red Talk League. And there's also lads from the channel who have got their own like little league inside that league. We haven't officially announced that, but I'm going to call it that. So at the top of that league, out of the lads from the channel, is Capybara Kings.
Capybara, 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 capybara.
And that is myself, 52nd with 79 points. I had Wan-Bissaka, Haaland, Mbeumo and Awiyine, I think it is, for Nottingham Forest, who obviously got points. Second from the lads in the channel is Dave, who's 130th with team name I'm a Derby Girl.
I'm a Barbie girl.
which I very like. 73 points. He had João Pedro, Haaland, and Onana. So fair play to Dave. Chive is third in that list, but 180th in the league. Hangover FC.
How'd that sound?
69 points. Haaland, Saka, and Onana. Reoccurring theme here. Daniel Raj is fourth, 243rd, yeah. And his team name's Saka Potatoes, 63 points. Haaland, Estepinian. He had Emerson Royale, again, another one who a lot of people wouldn't have had. And then we have fifth out of that, Shreyas Singh, who's obviously alongside me here. 279th, Turtle Rapidos. 59 points. Who did you go for in your FPL?
I went with Haaland, Saka, and I had Botman in my team. So
yeah,
they shared the
one thing I will say, Shreyas, is it seems like from league position there's giant gaps, but the points aren't that far behind. Like Dan, who's above you, who's like 30 places above you, got 63 points. You got 59 points. So there's literally 4 points in it, which is an assist. Do you know what I mean? So again. Game week 1, nothing to think to cry about. And then the last one, which I'm also happy to announce because he was so cocky last year and he was giving her the big speech and all that, saying like, I would need someone to challenge me and all that. Sam is last out of the lads on the channel, 325th. The Marshall Matter LP. It would be better. One of the best names, though, it has to be said. 50 points. He just got points from Haaland, João Pedro, and Estepinian. And Adam just hasn't created his team at all. So yeah, still hasn't created it, which is just so he doesn't even position. I was thinking about putting him Donkey of the Week for not creating. In fact, you can be joint. You can be joint Donkey of the Week with him,
Adam. Donkey of the league every single week.
Yeah, every single week. But the other Donkey of the Week who's bottom with 19 points is FLC. And he's still got Kane in his team. He or she still got Kane in his team. So I think that tells you everything that you need to know about that. Moving on to this weekend's fixtures, Shreyas, who are the ones to watch? I'm going to read out a couple of the games for you. Just give us your thoughts on the games and, like I said, the ones to watch. Forest versus Sheffield. Are we in it, do you think? Straight win?
I think it will be a win for Forest. But rather than Awani, I think Brennan Johnson could step up in this game. Personally.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I like that. Fulham versus Brentford. What are your takes on that?
I think it will be a draw. Fulham and Brentford will be a draw. Yeah, I think it will be a 1-1 draw.
Okay, I'll just go with a draw because I don't know 2-2, 1-1. I think a draw.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Bournemouth. I think this has got the makings of a slapping, in my personal opinion.
Once again, Liverpool have only got their attack to show for it, and last season they beat this team 9-0. So,
and they're at Anfield.
Yeah. So if you have got any, decisions to make when it comes to your attackers, get every single Liverpool attacker you possibly can think of this week. Salah, Diaz, Jota, Gakpo, every single one of them.
Triple captain, Salah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Might score a hat-trick because Bournemouth, I don't think they can match them offensively. And right now, Liverpool need a win.
I agree. Wolves versus Brighton. I'm going to go with a bit of an upset here. Whether it's a draw or a win, I think, I'm going to go with an upset. Might be way off, but I'll throw it out there. What do you think?
I think Brighton will once again mop the floor. The only reason being, I can see how Wolves can be, like they troubled us. I can see how they can trouble certain teams. I just don't think that Brighton will be one of those teams. Because the way De Zerbi plays and the way he set up this team, I really don't see a likes of a Wolves actually troubling them. But if it would have been a Brentford, I would have probably said that this has the makings of a draw or an upset. But Wolves, I think they can actually mop the floor with them.
Okay, interesting. Spurs versus Man United, we'll save that for the preview, which we'll do later live at 7 o'clock, so keep an eye out for that. City versus Newcastle is a fascinating one because in the past, City have struggled a little bit with
Newcastle.
Season,
it was one of the games of the season. This was game of the season.
It was really, really good. Yeah. You had Kevin De Bruyne is out for 3-4 months. Could that affect Manchester City? Newcastle were flying at the weekend, as we just touched on. 5-1. Debut didn't look really, really good. So, what do you think about that?
I think this game, once again, this would be the best game of the week. City versus Newcastle. De Bruyne is out, which is a big blow. And to be honest, for a change, I can say Newcastle might actually be able to match City offensively. Like if they've got Haaland, they've actually got Isaac, and Isaac is flying right now.
And Wilson. Don't forget Wilson who can score as well.
Yeah. And on the wings, they've got Harvey Barnes, Murphy, who's been doing really, really well for them. Obviously City have got the likes of Jack Grealish, and they've also who's playing on the right wing for them now.
Bernardo, I believe. Bernardo or Foden. Foden. Who the fuck is Foden? Bernardo or Foden.
So I think that midfield, when it comes to the creativity, someone to do that Kevin De Bruyne job, I think that's where Newcastle can actually affect them.
Yeah.
Because I think midfield, it can still be evenly matched. Tonali, Guimaraes, and of course Joe Linton. Then for City side, you got obviously Rodri, Kovacic, Bernardo Silva playing there, or Phil Foden playing there. I still don't know who it will be, but they've been deploying Cole Palmer in that job as well in certain fixtures, so probably could be seeing him in the defensive line as well. Both teams look really great, so I think City might lose out on this one, the way it is going up, because last night against Sevilla they didn't look that great without De Bruyne. Honestly, they didn't look that great. It went down to penalties against a team like Sevilla, who their magic only works in the Europa League. So I think Newcastle might nick this one, but I think both the teams, there will be goals, like a 3-2, that sort of game.
I go the other way slightly. I think City being at home, I think they might just nick it 2-1. But again, I think it's going to be so competitive. I think there's going to be elements.
Might even be a draw. Might genuinely even be a draw.
Yeah, exactly. Sunday's fixtures, very quickly. Villa versus Everton. I mean, Unai Emery's just been slapped off. Newcastle, I've seen bouncing back in this. I think this is a bad game for Everton to go to. Villa at home. The crowd will be right behind them.
Not the best time to play. Not the best time to play Villa right now.
No. Easy win for Villa, do we think?
Yeah. I think 2-0. Some such that. I think they win.
West Ham versus Chelsea, London derby. That's a tough one because I think West Ham again drew the first game of the season. They'll be disappointed with that. Firepower, don't see enough from West Ham. I think Chelsea just get it done, but I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's an easy win for Chelsea. I'd say 2-1 Chelsea.
I think 1-0 or somewhat of that sort of a fixture.
1-0 or 2-1.
I just think that I don't understand where the goals come from for West Ham. Like, that is the biggest issue that they've got right now. Defense might still hold. Midfield, whatever scraps they've got might still hold. But I don't see the attack actually doing anything. Like, the attack is a big worry sign. I don't see from where they actually score goals in that lineup. And I think Chelsea are flying high. Chelsea are genuinely flying high right now. They had a really good fixture against Liverpool. And I think if Enzo Fernandez plays the way he did against Liverpool, I think they win it.
Yeah, agreed. And then the last fixture of game week 2 is Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. How do you see that going down?
Palace is a very difficult team to evaluate. Once again,
Flippant.
On their days they can trouble teams, but with Arsenal, I just think the drop-off I see with Arsenal is when Champions League starts. That's when I can, because usually against big European teams, the last time they were in the Champions League, it wasn't really very friendly or a very good, a good going for them in the Champions League. So I see them probably, getting some morale actually, going down the drain when it comes to the Champions League. But I think right now, the way they're playing, I think they will win against Palace. They will win.
Yeah. But I also think Palace will offer a bit of a surprise element as well. Eze was very good in the last game.
They've got them very difficult to evaluate them. But the problem is that team works only on the back of 2 to 3 players. If those 2 to 3 players don't have that good of a game, then Crystal Palace's, their effectiveness just goes down completely. And I think that's where, Mikel Arteta would be looking to actually exploit them, and he's got the players for it too.
Yeah. We discussed the fixtures, the results, what we think. I want 3 recommendations from me and yourself, of course. So give me 3 recommendations for this weekend. Players you would draft in. Players you think are going to get a lot of points, score, assists, clean sheets, etc. 3 recommendations.
Yeah. Salah, Gakpo, Diaz, Jota,
Any Liverpool player.
any Liverpool attacker. But yes, on a serious basis, Liverpool attackers in general, any Liverpool attacker, whether you want to get in Gakpo or Darwin Núñez, the problem with just drafting that attacker is except I would say recommend Salah, because he's the only person who I would say will definitely be starting the game. Except that those two positions, whether it's Diaz, whether it's Jota, whether it's Gakpo, you still don't, or whether it's Núñez, you don't know who's going to be starting. So Salah is a very safe option, as to he'll be playing the full 90, so go with him.
Well, let's do just one player from a team. So
sure.
So you put Salah from Liverpool, for example. Who are the other recommendations looking at them?
Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea, get him in. Genuinely get
Enzo.
him in. And for the third, I would say get Lisandro Martinez in. I think one bad game, he'll be looking to crunch Tottenham altogether.
Do you think we'll get a clean sheet though? Because we're basing this off points, right? So
I think we will. I think we will.
Okay.
And I think Lisandro Martinez will be the one pioneering that clean sheet.
Nice. I like it. So Salah, Enzo, Lisandro from Shreyas. I'll go with recommendations for points. I think Awiyine is going to score again for Forest at home against Sheffield. Again, if I was to go for an attacker from Thing, I'll just pick, I don't know. I'll go maybe Diaz again for Liverpool against both. Diaz or Gakpo, one of the others. And then I'll go Villa at home against Everton. I think Ollie Watkins, put him in there. Yeah, Ollie Watkins, throw him in there as well. There are 3 recommendations each. And that is the end of the FPL Game Week 1 review. Obviously, the games kick off tonight, Friday fixture, Forest versus Sheffield. So let's see what happens in that. And we've got the preview as well for the Spurs game, so make sure you don't miss that. We've actually got a Spurs fan on that, so it would be very interesting to pick his brain about Tottenham. And make sure you keep an eye out for the watch along over the weekend, other exclusive content coming your way, and hopefully you've enjoyed this review. My name's Nick, this has been Shreyas, and let's look forward to the games, see what happens, and we'll be discussing it again next week. Peace.